everybody, and welcome to a new video with the Great Western Villager. And as you can see by the visuals, we've got a new still to go with the videos where I have brought him along for these little collabs. And let's just say, I love this still that I've got commissioned from an artist named John. He'll be linked in the description. Feel free to commission him if you want to help make sure he can afford his electric bill. Other than that, that's his plug over. Let's go into the video. Well, actually, you can, say hello, GWVillager, if you want to say hello now.
Yes, hello. I imagine all of you know who I am by now, but if you don't, you can have a look at my YouTube channel, GWVillager, and figure out for yourself. I can't be bothered to explain.
That's fine. Yeah, he'll be linked in the description, just as always. Now, I want to begin this video by asking the GWVillager a simple question. Have you rode on a train?
Why, funny you ask that, because I actually have, yes.
So have I. And we have rode on multiple trains of different services in different countries, and when you ride on a huge variety of trains like we have, you begin to get a sort of feel for what you would expect on a different, depending on what the train is doing, where it's running, and what kind of service it's really, well, hopefully, planned to run. And I've just been thinking about this to myself because, what do you think, what would we properly expect from these different kinds of trains? Like, okay, so the Metropolitan line, for example, sure, it doesn't need first class, is the point I'm trying to make out. It doesn't need first class, but it does need lots of standing room. Stuff like that.
Exactly, and we see so many cases, particularly in new trains, but I mean also in old ones as well, where you have trains being manufactured for stuff that they really should not be doing. It's completely inappropriate allocation.
Indeed.
And yeah, we thought, well, why don't we come up with our own set of obviously very vague standards for what we think different categories of trains should be like. Of course, it's not going to be technical or anything, there won't be any booklet or document, but it's just going to be some musings about what we think to be good and what we think to not be so good.
Exactly. We just want something like just a basic guidelines. I guess you could describe it as basic guidelines. We're going to split it up into 4 different categories because there is not one single train for everything. Which, thank goodness for that. Imagine Electrostars and High Speed 1.
Ooh. And they do try in a few countries.
True. So our 4 categories are tram and metro, commuter trains, regional trains, and then intercity high speed. I think the first category and the last one sort of overlap each other in a way.
But not tram and high speed, but...
Oh, no. I mean, sorry, tram and metro overlap. Sorry, I should have been
Yes,
specific.
yeah. I sort of agree. I think that while they are different vehicles and you want different things, and I would say with trams, the interior doesn't really matter all that much relative to the other vehicles involved. I mean, obviously, that you want a good interior, but I'm not too bothered if it's not amazing, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I have a sort of trump card for that, but well, not with a joke card, a joker, just sort of. Well, you could even call a curveball, because to that I say the Antwerp PCC trams, where you can't get a wheelchair on board, so...
Yeah, I was thinking that in my head, and I thought, I really hope he doesn't mention this.
Oh, sorry!
That's the one example that, yes, the interior does matter in that case. But I think, so long as, it's your standard modern European tram, where you get on at the level, and then, I don't know, sit down, or whatever you do in the tram, there are only so many variations you can get.
True, fair enough then. In that aspect, I can, to not be like... I won't be a complete dick and just bring up like a random Soviet-era tram that as well also has steps and no... Actually, I say that, there are some Soviet trams that have been modified with an extra coach on board, like an extra sort of coach in between that does have a low floor. I'll put it up on screen. It's like there's a Tatra. I think it's like the Tatra K something or other. I can't remember the number of it. I'll paste it up on screen and send it to you after this because I'm not gonna spend the next 3 hours trying to find this one tram type.
No, fair enough. Yeah, that does remind me.
Oh, no. Go on. You first.
That does remind me of the Blackpool balloon trams and the double deckers retrofitted with the sort of bulges on either side so they could get level boarding.
Good point, yeah. I've still yet to go to Blackpool.
Yeah, I have been many times, but not since the pandemic. And
Oh,
what I really want to know, and if anyone here does know, please do say so in the comments. Are they still running balloon trams in normal service?
I'm
I know
curious
they
about that.
were until I think 2021 on sort of Saturday services, but I don't. I would be very surprised if they are still using them, but
Yeah, so am
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm really curious actually, because the only reason I would go to Blackpool would be like for a joke, because it's sort of like the northwest version of Skegness.
It's worse than that.
Oh dear.
Um, but it has a tram. It has a tram.
That is
And
true.
the illuminations are quite impressive too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get angry at like that or anything. It's just more like no one. I've never met anybody who says I'm going down to Blackpool for the weekend.
Well, I mean, that was like the thing that literally everyone in the UK used to do for
Well,
200 years or whatever, but not since 1990 has anyone ever said that.
exactly. That's hence why I compared it to Skegness. But back on topic before we start talking about coastal demise of various everywhere on the UK or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is a shame. But we do bring up a good point regarding like what you'd expect from a tram. Your standards of you're not really too fast. I do have a few things that don't involve just accessibility, because I think accessibility is important for every train type. The disabled should be able to board the first train of the day, go out to Paris with their mates, come back home on the second to last train of the day, just like I can.
Absolutely. Yes, and I think that almost goes without saying, but for all these train types, accessibility should be a given.
Exactly. What other things do I expect from a tram? I think I can accept if a tram doesn't have. No, I mean level boarding. I think it sort of falls into accessibility. But I would like it if the tram would have. I'd like it to be very clear if you press the bell or not, because a lot of trams you have to request for the stops.
I would argue that there should be no request stops on
Really?
trams. Yeah, I think trams should follow the Manchester way and just stop everywhere, all the time. It just gets rid of, because it's really awkward with a tram. You never know really if you need to press the bell or not. And I'm not aware of any circumstances where pressing the bell was necessary.
Right.
Trams always stopped anyway, but I think just getting rid of that element of confusion.
I can understand that. Again, I can think of a handful, which is basically all the trams in the Netherlands. You have to press the bell.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Even in the tunnels under Den Haag?
Well, everybody pretty much gets off there, so I can't confirm
Yeah, I
that.
never tried. I mean,
But you do have
wonder
to
in the
press.
middle of the night if you to go through and not press a bell if they stop or not. But yeah.
But you do have to. I have been on some of the lines which are sort of quieter, and if you haven't pressed the bell, they'll just pass by. They treat it like the bus.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Especially since they're also unidirectional, so they pretty much treat them like big buses, which is what they are, effectively.
Yes, and that is kind of the European idea of a tram. It's like a bus on steroids. Whereas we tend to treat trams as like an asthmatic train. So it's just a different approach, really.
Yeah, true. Fair enough then. Well, okay, we can at least get that regarding trams though. So, sort of blending into trams. What about like a metro? So the underground. The underground.
Oh, sorry, just one more thing on trams.
Oh, no, go on. Yeah, go on, please.
One thing they absolutely should not do is what they do in Edinburgh and fit out a tram with high back leather seating.
What? Excuse me? I was not aware of that.
Just try and bring up some photos.
Please
No,
do. This is
seats on trams should be low back. Trams should not be for long distance traffic.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's a tram and just not, a squashed Enviro 200?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a tram. They also have huge luggage racks. So, no, if that's what you're doing, a tram is not the right vehicle for that purpose. So don't fit those seats. Don't do anything like that with it, please.
I'll give him credit for trying to make it comfortable, question mark? I don't know.
Yeah, but
it's
they're
just...
really slippery leather seats now. They're not
Oh,
comfortable
of
at all.
course, of course.
You
Cheap
just fall
leather.
off. Yeah.
That's what I want. Delicious. That's a yeah. I mean, okay, that's news to me. I was not aware of that. But thank you very much for that cursed knowledge, friend. So,
Yeah.
metro trains. Then let's go into metro. So, the underground. I guess the Glasgow subway. If you stretch it,
Well, yeah, I mean,
what would
the
you
undergrounds. Yeah, the poor man's underground.
Yeah. What do you personally expect from the metro, like these kinds of subway systems, as the Americans will call it?
Yeah, well, I think the thing with these is that comfort isn't really that important. It's capacity that matters on these trains. You're not going to be traveling on them for very long distances. So, what do you do? Because there's such high turnover, it's very difficult to clean them, so to speak. It's really important that the interior, in and of itself, exudes not comfort, but stylishness, attractiveness, without necessarily requiring constant upkeep. So aesthetics arguably matter much more on metro trains than they do on high-speed trains, say, as you don't have that measure of comfort to make things feel better. It's entirely what your eyes are seeing.
That's a good point.
Then we also have the concerns of practicality, like don't fill the train with seats. You need people to be standing, so lots of standing room is really important. I don't know personally whether longitudinal or bay seating is best. I think a mix of them, a little bit like the Elizabeth line does, might be good on some routes, but obviously on others you just want entirely longitudinal. But yeah, over to you.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point. Honestly, like I'm sort of like, mostly agreeing with what you say, but I never thought about how the aesthetics could make a huge difference. For example, the M4 metro trains used in Amsterdam. I'm not sure if you know these ones. I will say that the interior of these trains, trains, not trams, sorry, because they're sort of both, but they were in the past, but not anymore. I really don't like the interior, even though it looks clean, I'd say.
Yes.
The interior looks clean,
To me,
look at it, just feels so...
It looks bare bones, basic, yeah.
It really is. And those seats are horrible to sit on.
They look very
They
bad,
are
yeah.
full on plastic. Like they've nicked the plastic from Andy Murray's tennis racket, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the thing I think with a lot of Dutch metros, they seem to be more basically commuter trains that run in tunnels under the city centre. I found this with Rotterdam. The interiors didn't really feel like a metro train. The seats were pretty comfortable in the Rotterdam metro, but like it's not a metro, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I can sort of see. Well, like one of them, Line E, is like a sort of it's very high standard light rail. If you want to stretch it a bit.
Yeah, is that the one that goes out to Hoek van Holland?
No, Line E is not that one, but it uses the similar train type.
Okay, yeah.
So I know. So yeah, my point still stands regardless, though. It's like it was a former train line anyway.
Oh, Line E. That's the one that goes all the way to Den Haag, isn't it?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. No. I agree. It's It doesn't really fall into the same category because, of course, Dutch cities tend to be smaller than in Britain, not necessarily in population, but like in actual extent. So there's not much need for exclusively metro trains, if you see what I mean. They tend to go much further and act as a little bit more like interurbans. Whereas in Britain, our cities are large enough that there are plenty of places where trains just run within the city and nowhere else.
Certainly. One thing I think every metro train should definitely have, especially in the UK, air conditioning.
Yes, absolutely.
This post has not been brought to you by someone who's used the Central Line that often, but it might as well be. Because you cook on the Central Line. You will melt. Yeah. It's ridiculously hot. And the Victoria Line as well. Yeah, even in winter. It's ridiculously hot. I hate using the Victoria Line because it's so hot.
I don't mind the Victoria Line. The thing about the Victoria Line is, well, first of all, I love the 2009 stock. But it's quick, so you're not on it for that long. And I know there are definitely exceptions to this, but every time I've been on it, it's not been that busy. whereas the Central Line feels constantly overcrowded. Yeah, I know. I'm not a Londoner.
Yeah,
Maybe the Victoria Line
this
is
is
busy all
definitely
the time.
someone who has never been on the Victoria Line during the rush hour. Oh,
Yeah,
it's not
okay.
that busy. Go
I'm
to
sure it.
Vauxhall at 7:30 a.m. Then tell me that.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure it's different during the peak hour, but in the
Yeah.
off-peak, the Central Line seems to be busy throughout the whole day, whereas the Victoria is mainly busy in the peaks and quieter outside.
Yeah, I can at
Um,
least agree with that though.
so you kind of get to, you can deal with the heat if you're kind of on your own. The worst is when you've got like 100 people within a meter of you,
Exactly.
and it's boiling hot. It's not very pleasant.
No, people don't seem to realise that a whole bunch of people in one space creates lots of body heat, and that body heat
Yes.
needs to go somewhere. You know, like
Yeah.
in an like, it gets so bloody hot. I remember when I was doing my exams in the school hall, and it got so hot because this was during one of the heat waves and the many heat waves we had in the UK, and it got so hot that someone behind me who was rather in good physical condition, she just fainted. Just
Oh dear.
completely
Gosh.
fainted and just fell down. Like, she was fine
Yeah.
after she got some water, but it goes to show you need aircon plus.
You do. We are so reluctant to install aircon in this country. It's really annoying.
Even buses
We need
as
much
well.
more of it. Well, buses too. Yeah, I mean, Enviro 400, first generation Enviro 400s. Gosh, they are
Poor man.
insufferable.
I get
Yeah.
to avoid most of the first generation ones because they're not really in my area of London, but I definitely have every once in a while will have to ride on a Boris bus, so it's not exactly I'm not exactly gaining
Yeah.
anything.
They're not great either.
No, they're
not great.
They're furnaces.
Yeah, but the problem with the Enviro 400s, at least with the Boris Masters, the windows aren't that big, so you're not always sitting in the direct sunlight. With the Enviro 400s, they're basically a greenhouse. So not only is it really hot, you also have the sun blinding you and boiling your skin directly. So it's even worse, I think, than the Boris Masters.
True. But I think regarding the only other thing I can really say is I can sort of tolerate certain kinds of longitudinal seats if they're at least decent to sit on. I won't lie, I do miss like the old Metropolitan A stock. I have old video footage in my archive somewhere of them. I do miss riding them, but at the same time, I'll accept the S stock if it means I get air conditioning.
Yeah, and I think the A stock was just way too old. And the interiors were not really representative of a good transport network, if you see
They
what I mean.
weren't, but the thing is that they had lovely springy seats as well. I really did miss riding them, and what was the thing I really liked about the S stock? Well, I mean, the A stock was like, when I was younger, I loved the A stock so much, and when they were getting replaced, I was so upset by that I actually wrote a poem, and I've never done
wow.
that for any other vehicle ever.
Yeah, I wouldn't write poems about retirement of rolling stock. But,
Oh, yeah.
well.
No, definitely not. But yeah, I get what your point. I get your point though. But other things like passenger information displays, large doors to reduce dwell times. Those are the kinds of things that you could say goes without saying, and I think most trains nowadays do have those at least.
Yeah, I think we kind of have grasped that by now.
Yeah.
The main things really are decor, and whilst I don't like the look of the seats, the original concept for the new tube for London, I think, was a brilliant example of how to design a good-looking metro
I agree.
train.
That looks fantastic. Is that
It
what
does.
they're going with?
Well, yeah. In this one, the lighting's fantastic. Obviously it'll be air conditioned too. The color scheme, brilliant. It looks very stylish. It looks like somewhere you want to be, which is pretty tough, really, for a metro train.
Oh, definitely.
However, unfortunately, they don't appear to have gone with that design.
Oh no.
I'll send you a photo of the one they are actually progressing with.
I'm scared.
It's a bit worse. It's not that bad.
I mean, it's not bad. It just
the
looks
colours are
like
worse.
it looks like Victoria Line Mark II,
Yeah, it does.
just different coloured poles. Well, yeah, okay, not the end of the world, I'd say though. Okay then,
No.
so how about regional No, commuter train. So
Commuter.
let's pick up like what you would expect from a class 375. That's the first train that came to my head. Actually, no, that's
Yeah,
not really
375.
commute. Would you call that a commuter?
No,
It's
I mean
like
it
it's
depends. Some of the
hovering.
journeys they do are, but others are more regional.
All right, pick a
I think something
465.
like
465 then.
yeah, or like the Cross City line in Birmingham or something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, then those ones. So those sort of routes where it's obviously the passenger count is busy, but not as busy as an underground line. What would you?
Well, they
what,
can get very, very busy. I think that the defining thing about, I suppose suburban's probably a better word.
Yeah,
They're
suburban.
longer distance than a metro. You wouldn't catch one around a city centre, but they are how you get to work. And they probably are more likely, they're not always, more likely to have kind of one directional passenger flow. So you don't get people constantly getting on and off. It's more like they all get on in one direction or get off in the other. There are obviously exceptions, but that's a pretty good way to categorize them, I would say.
Yeah, I can agree on that mostly. I mean, there's probably some exceptions here and there, but yeah, I agree. So, what do you personally expect from a commuter train? Like, if you're going, if you're traveling on the Cross City line for whatever reason, maybe if you're forced to go to Birmingham against your will, what would you expect from going from Birmingham to Kings Norton?
And well, I actually think the new trains they're using at the moment are almost perfect in that regard. The 730s are really quite remarkable. Standing space is obviously the main thing you'd expect, but the crucial thing is that outside of peak hours, suburban trains tend to get pretty quiet. So how are you going to attract passengers with that? Well, comfort also matters here. And I think this is the beginning of where we have to start taking into consideration, okay, not just how many people can we fit on this train, but how nice is their journey going to be. So it's about balancing that ultra high capacity with stand-back areas around the doors with maybe tables, or 2+2 seating, and things like this. And the 730, I think, does that pretty well. The one problem is the seat comfort, which isn't amazing. I think really you need to be getting more comfortable seats by now. But
I agree, yeah.
but it's not the end of the world. And I think, yeah, wide aisles, wide stand-back spaces, but not forgetting the little creature comforts like tables, charging points, things like that.
I mean, yeah, again, I don't want to say this because it means I'm giving credit to the adventurer, which I don't want to do. But I do think the 730 is by far the best of the adventurers in terms of just design. Like, if you look at the 730 and then compare it to the 720, it's like, who designed this versus, oh, this is
Yeah.
actually pretty decent.
It's a world away.
It's
They go from awful trains, well, not awful, they're 720s. They go from okay, but oh my word, why did they fit 3+2 seating, to actually this is pretty good.
Indeed, I do agree. Like the main thing with the 730 is that the seat comfort is lacking, but it does have like there is bicycle spaces, which I think will be pretty important for commuters because trains
Yes,
offer
space is important.
trains offer last mile. The most important thing for commuters is last mile journeys because not everybody lives next to the station, not everybody works near the station. They need to continue their journey.
Exactly. And the thing with suburban railways is they're not like metros where everyone lives within 5 minutes from a station, right? Things are much more spread out. People might drive to the station, they might cycle or take the bus or whatever. They act as sort of feeder corridors, and you have fewer lines, but the trains should be able to accommodate all the different ways people might get to the train themselves.
Certainly.
And another thing, toilets.
Yes.
You should be getting
yes.
toilets on this level of service. You don't need them on metro trains, but on suburban ones, yes, you should be having. I say not many, really. One toilet per 4 or 5 coaches, perhaps, but there should be some toilets.
Yeah, for me, personally, I'd say on a commuter train, if you have 4 coaches, it should be I think 2 toilets per 4 coaches works because the 450 has that, the 458, the Electro Stars, and I can't think of any others off the top of my head. I guess technically the 320, no, not 320, the 321 and 319 technically did as well. But it's just, I think it's just a sensible ratio of like passengers to toilets and these kinds of services.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, I probably agree with that too.
I mean, like for the 730, which only has 1 toilet, I can go, alright, that's fine, I'll live. But if they're 4 coaches and 5 coaches, they should have more toilets. And the 700, which falls into this, it sort of it's weird. The 700 sort of straddles this category and regional, which is really annoying, and it doesn't really fit with both. It's not really good.
Not great at either. Yeah. I don't know. I like the 700s in and of themselves, but yeah, their execution could be much better, rather.
Indeed.
I would say with commuter trains, one thing that doesn't really get discussed enough is safety, or rather, the perception of safety, because these trains, they tend to be driver operated, or if they do have a guard, they can't be throughout the whole train. They're very long to deal with peak hour traffic. But there are also many times of the day where they're operating almost empty. So if you're travelling alone, it could be quite scary in a way. So yeah, dealing with that is quite important. So open gangway connections between coaches, so there's visibility throughout the whole train. Good lighting, and I think this is perhaps the one situation where you should perhaps substitute sort of nice dim warm lighting for brighter whiter lighting. It's much easier to see, of course, and is therefore safer. And CCTV is quite an important thing. So keeping these trains safe definitely is of a high priority.
Yeah, I'm actually inclined to agree on that as well. Although, to count as a sort of counterpoint regarding the open gangways, how do you stop the smoke from a fire in carriage 1 getting into carriage 3 with open gangways?
Well, you would, I assume, still have doors. They'd just be kind of locked open by default. And that, well, actually, that's a good question. In practice, I don't, because there are a lot of trains, obviously, that have open gangways, but they don't seem to have any fire doors.
No.
That is a good question.
Yeah, the answer to this question, which London Overground has taught us, is you don't. You just have to get everybody off as soon as possible because there's nothing you can do to stop the smoke getting from. And these complete knobs who think the seats need to be crap because of fire safety have completely forgot the existence of carbon monoxide, the colourless, odourless, tasteless gas, meaning you can't sense it, that tends to knock you unconscious somehow.
Yes, or worse.
Or kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of like that's a bit of an issue regarding safety, but fortunately train fires aren't exactly that uncommon. No, they're not exactly common in the UK. Thank goodness for that.
No. That is interesting. It is something I hadn't really thought of. So yeah, no, I think definitely more work should go into that.
No, it's a question I actually bring up every once in a while to. I say Brett once in a while. I once asked it to somebody at South Western Railway when they were bringing in the 707s, and the best answer they gave was a shrug. So.
Yeah, no, there definitely should be more thought going into that. I'm sure there are solutions there. You can have both, but yeah, maybe there does need to be more attention paid there.
Certainly. Also, air conditioning would be nice.
Yeah, but again, I think air conditioning is kind of a given.
Yeah, just why make it clear? Just some companies don't
so
realize
no one forgets. No.
Okay. No. Was there anything else you wanted to say about commuter before we?
Well, I don't. I think there might actually now be regulations in place meaning that you can't have open copper windows and therefore have to have air conditioning, but I could be wrong.
I'll accept if you are right on that, because I haven't noticed many new trains with opening windows, so if someone could correct us, we know the drill.
I think that's why new trains don't even have the emergency opening windows like they used to in the past.
That's a good point, perhaps, yeah. Fair enough then. Well, next category would be regional trains, so you should be rather well versed in this aspect. Basically, what do you expect from the equivalent Class 170 esque service?
Yeah, so the thing with regional trains is that the term regional can encompass so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So with a regional train, it tends to be, it'll be running through a small city, say, and in that city it'll be like a commuter service, whereas you'll also be running between different smaller cities perhaps, and then it's not intercity, but certainly regional express. So you get all sorts of different types of passenger, and again, balancing these things is pretty tough. So I don't think there should be one standard for regional trains here. This is where I will probably diverge and say that actually, with regional services, you're best specifying individually per route. But that said, there are a few things that I think carry over. One, have lots of tables and group seating, and the Class 170 did that really quite well. And well, it still does it quite well. You want plenty of bays so people traveling together and travel together.
Yeah, I agree.
Another thing, yeah. Another thing, lighting here, and the Class 185 does this rather well, should be, I think, much more subtle here. Because on regional trains, they tend to be rather small, the guard's always out and about, safety is less of a priority. Well, I mean, obviously it still is, but it's less of a concern, if you see what I mean. And I think having a comfortable, relaxing environment should take precedence here. The 185s in general, actually, I think are very good regional trains. Performance should be good, but, internally speaking, you want lots of tables, very comfortable seats, as always, but, particularly here, well, you'd have it more so on intercity trains, but on regional trains it should be comfortable, and with some, but not overwhelming amounts of luggage and bicycle storage.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's good that we're actually bringing up luggage and cycle storage properly now, because I think that's also kind of necessary for these kinds of services, since they're going much, because just like intercity trains, they're linking key areas usually from a large city to a small city, or a large city to a large, usually to areas that have garbage frequencies, cross country, hello. And one of the problems I think also I want to bring up now is that, this is a very important, but another thing that also needs to be addressed now is definitely train formations, because this is where it starts to get a problem. Many of my viewers will you can even vouch for the glorious 2-car Nottingham to Cardiff Central service.
Oh gosh, yeah. Thankfully, they're usually at least 3. I would say the worst offender is probably the Liverpool to Norwich trains.
Oh my goodness! How did I not forget about that? Because even though that they got the Turbo Stars now, they still just use the 2-car Turbo Star on that route.
Yeah, and they're still off on 158s.
Yep.
It's very much pot luck what you get. Sometimes you get very lucky and get 2, 3-car 170s coupled together. In that case, everything's brilliant. However, if you get a 2-car ex-London Midland 170 or a 158, you're going to be in for a very cosy journey.
I have never seen East Midlands Railway running a 6-car set before. I've never seen that. I'll believe you, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, they have started doing it, yeah.
What
they
service?
don't do it that often. Or on Liverpool to Norwich. They don't run them all the way to Norwich. They usually split them at Nottingham, but 6 cars between Liverpool and Nottingham, yeah, it's reasonably common.
Well, that's I'm so impressed by that. Finally, somebody in the someone in the train planning department has found the spare brain cell on the floor to utilise. Finally, it took a while, but
use the one brain cell between them, yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I mean they're not nearly common enough, but they do turn up.
No, I mean I'm just looking at real-time trains right now. I can see 423 and 201 is a 6-car formation running together.
Excellent.
Fantastic. I'm impressed. He's only going as far as Peterborough today, but that's good enough.
Well.
That's impressed. Impressed.
Yeah, it's good. The EMR, the thing about EMR is they are rubbish, but they do have a plan and they are getting better.
You know what? That reminds me of the meme from Red Dead Redemption 2 of Dutch Vandalins starting a GoFundMe. All it says is, I have a plan, I just need money. And that is basically East Midlands Railway.
That's EMR, that absolutely is. Though they do seem to be getting the money now. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. Still, it's, we bring up coach formations as a very important aspect, though, because I don't want to stand from Birmingham New Street to Newport. I don't want to do that.
I agree. No. Well, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who would. I think with regional trains, they are perhaps. Well, I think in many ways they're Britain's greatest strength relative to other countries, which don't really have that many. But there's still a huge amount of latent demand, and we should really be trying to think about. Well, if there's potential for passenger growth, why shouldn't we tap into it? we should be looking to expand services. We should be looking to make them more frequent. We should be looking to lengthen train lengths. And yeah, that's probably well, yeah, no, it's arguably more important than the actual specification of the trains themselves. Is just having enough of them.
True. Well, I mean, there is a reason. Why do you think? Well, actually, no, I don't even know who else is hoarding Electro Stars at the moment. But yeah, it is a good point. Yeah, you're right. I do agree with that. I do have a question though. Excuse me. How many like you would expect regional trains to have a few more toilets compared to a commuter train? Would you agree on that?
Yes, yeah.
I agree.
I would tend to go two toilets for every 3 coaches, rounding up, if you're not meeting that perfect ratio, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be inclined to say that if it was like to be honest, I think like trains like the 158 and 175 did it well, where there was a toilet in every coach. I think honestly that was.
I think 3 toilets in a 3-coach train is probably a little too much.
I disagree.
I would be inclined to go.
Oh. No, you go. You go first.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think on a 2-car train, 2 toilets. On a 3-car train, 2 toilets. On a 4-car train, 3, maybe 2, but
now,
2 to 3.
I'm sort of inclined to disagree, and I only need to use one example to explain why. There's a small train called the Class 197, and well, yeah, it only has 2 toilets in a 3-car train, and 1 toilet in a 2-car train.
Yeah, no, it is ridiculous. No, yeah, well, exactly, and that's why I think on a 2-car train you need 2 toilets. Yeah. But the thing with the 197s is that they should not be that short. Like, they should be running in 5 cars, in 5-car formations between Cardiff and Manchester. In which case you'd have 3 toilets. You should probably have 1 more, but that's that's going to help slightly in theory, if CAF can maintain the trains.
You're expecting way too much.
Yeah, it's easier said than done.
Indeed.
At least when CAF claim it to be.
Yeah, no, I bring this up, brought up the toilet because I remember the TPE 350s. They, instead of just having 2 toilets like the other 350s, they actually have an additional toilet, which I thought, that's actually a pretty good idea. I never knew. I didn't
know that. No.
Yeah, I never knew that until one day I rode on one. It was running on the St Albans Abbey branch because they just have because they use their 350s wherever they want. And I noticed, I was just walking down the train, and I noticed, hang on, I saw that toilet already. Oh, it's a 3rd one. It was kind of funny, actually. So, yeah. So I thought that's a good idea. I think that's a very sensible idea with them. And, I can't wait to talk about the 350 in the future, but,
Yeah. One more thing.
Go ahead.
First class. I think more regional trains should have first class. Now, the main thing is that if you're going to do first class, actually do first class. Don't just put a little bit of fabric on the top of the seat.
Class 387.
Yeah. So it needs to be 2 plus 1, right? Should be reclining. It should be basically what intercity first class is like now, just without the catering. If there's a trolley on the train, which I think there probably should be on more regional trains than not, great, have whatever off the trolley. But generally, don't do anything extra just for first class, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there should be a wheelchair space in first class, because...
Of course, yeah. But again, goes without saying there, really. I think the EMR Class 810, which haven't yet entered service, but I'm going to go out there and say they look really good. I think there's probably... maybe the IET might be redeemed, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm not necessarily holding my breath.
Neither am I.
But I do think their first class looks like what a good regional first class interior should be.
I mean, that does look nice, I would say, though. Obviously, the ramp at the middle, the ramp up, that just looks really...
Yeah, that's not great. They should probably put a little bit of yellow warning tape there, but...
No, it just feels very bodged. And
yes, well, it's so they can get the high-powered engines, I believe.
Yeah, that's the reason why. That's why it feels bodged, because the IETs feel like they feel like a live service video game where there's updates every other version to try and make it less less crap.
Yeah, it's like they introduced the GWR ones and everyone panicked. It was like, oh no, we're going to be stuck with these for 20 years unless we do something. So they frantically did it. And, by the end, actually, we might get ourselves a okay train, but
Yeah, after 20, in 20 more years' time, we might have an IET that's almost as good as pre-refurbishment 390. And
yeah, just what a shame about all the many, many series of IETs that were purchased that are still terrible.
exactly.
Well,
But when you said earlier about catering, that's actually a pretty. I was going to actually lead into something because that kind of reminded me. Like, on a regional train, would you prefer catering done by a movable trolley, or have a small little buffet little shop area like what the 170 used to have?
that's a very interesting question.
Because I
I'm
guess it would
firmly pro.
depend on what the service it would be.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I'm firmly pro buffet when it comes to intercity trains, but for regional services, yeah, it really depends. I'd say in most cases you're probably best just sticking with the trolley, so you're not taking up any seating capacity, and just having a sort of roaming trolley system where like there's not you don't have the catering crew assigned to one train and then they just stay with it for the whole day, but rather the trolley goes for part of a journey and then gets off and then goes on another train. If you see what I mean. So you spread out more catering, just with fewer people, because
Yeah.
there's no way it would generate enough revenue if you just give one to every train. If you see what I mean.
Definitely. Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. Because I'm just quickly sharing a picture of the 170 little buffet, and I saw on a stream, and
Yeah.
I actually love how cute it looks. No, that door
Yes.
looks stupidly small. Like, how the hell could you
Yeah.
fit? I couldn't fit through that.
That's going to be a painful squeeze, I should think. And
Definitely.
stocking it up, they'd probably have to go through the hatch. But yeah, it's
But it does. I like how cute that does look appealing to me. I'd say maybe the
Yeah.
colours could be a little bit different
Well,
in some areas.
when it's open, perhaps. But I think that it's probably so. I know, obviously, habits will change, but I think people on regional trains don't really want to get out of their seat. They're not going very far. They don't want to, like, put all their stuff away, if you see what I mean.
True.
On the intercity trains, it's fine. You kind of camp out a bit for your journey, but on a regional train, you just get on and you run it for half an hour or whatever. So you're not too comfortable getting up and leaving your stuff. So, yeah, I think you're probably fine staying with a trolley.
Yeah, it was a fair point. It's a fair point. I was just kind of curious. So, well, that leads in perfectly to intercity and high-speed trains. What we expect.
Well, do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I'll go first. Basically, that's the best way I can describe it. Even though it doesn't really count as an intercity, take the what I'd like is if you what's my example? What can I use? Well, I think for me, I want it to be enjoyable to ride on. I want it to be nice. I want to be smiling. I want to be able to look out the window. I want decent window alignment.
Excellent. Yeah, no,
Yeah, it's just
I completely agree.
basically everything the
The sole
IET
point
doesn't
of an
do.
intercity train should be, well, obviously getting you between cities. Not the only point. Yeah, but the main goal of the interior should be make it as enjoyable as possible to ride on this train.
Certainly, because the reason I'm riding the train instead of the coach is because I want something I want something fast and relaxing and comfortable, and I want to be able to see out, go by at 125 miles an hour, and if it's not comfortable and it's obviously bloody expensive, I'm just gonna say screw this. I'm off to National Express.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The trains certainly in this country are very expensive. We need to be, we can't sell them on terms of cost.
No.
We can kind of do convenience, but the main selling point should be, it's nice. Like traveling by train is nice, and at the moment we can't really do that with a lot of operators.
No.
Now I would say basically what an intercity or high-speed train should be can be summed up in one sentence or one series of letters and numbers.
Go ahead.
ICE3 Neo.
Oh, see.
They're,
Oh wow! Were you really that impressed by the Ice Free Neo when you went on it?
yeah. Oh yeah. I was so impressed. It was amazing. Like I only travelled in standard class, but one of the most enjoyable journeys I've ever had there. And in fact, it was an hour and a half late on the way back, still really enjoyable journey. Fantastic trains. So
I should clarify, but he said it was an hour and a half late. That's on time. It's Deutsche Bahn, so just before I clarify that.
Yeah, by German standards, that is on time.
But carry on.
I've just got. I didn't take. Go on, sorry.
I was saying you to carry on because I slightly interrupted you just to make a joke, so I apologise.
Oh, okay.
But that does look like a nice interior, though. It does look nice.
Yeah, the seats are really comfortable. And here's one thing: I think on intercity trains, seats in both classes should recline. Not necessarily by much, but just something to give you that little bit of extra comfort. And the psychological feeling, too, of just pushing the recline button and that sort of feeling that there's been thought put into your comfort.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because, it's been a while since I've been on a train with reclining seats. I'm trying to think, which one... I mean, obviously the most probably one in first class, but I don't think there's a single train in standard class in the UK, like high-speed train, that has reclining seats.
The 373s do, I believe, in standard.
Oh, no, okay, one train that I know of, definitely. So...
Yeah, I mean, if we're not counting declassified first class, no, I don't think there are any that do have reclining seats in standard. Maybe the Enterprise in Northern Ireland, but that doesn't really count.
Not really, no, that's stretching it.
Yeah. You can notice there with the ICE3 Neo seats, they've got sort of holders for phones or tablets or whatever, adjustable sort of things, so you can put your phone or tablet or whatever on the back of your seat and watch a film or whatever. That's a really good idea. It's just these little touches. They've also got reading lights and coat hooks. Again, these things are not necessarily of massive utility, but they make it feel as if the designer has thought about you. And that matters. That really does matter from the well-being of the customer. You feel far more thought of, as you are.
Yeah, I completely agree on that, honestly, because I've seen that feature being added to a lot of buses and coaches, like long-distance coaches. Yeah. Can't think of.
And trains are falling behind.
Yeah, what's going on? It's not making any sense.
Yeah, it's lighting too. Again, lighting should be subtle. You should not be able to see the light fittings. That's what I would say. It should feel like it's lit naturally.
Yeah. And that's what it looks like on the ICE3 Neo. Right
exactly, yeah, and I think that's a great thing there. Use the roof as a diffuser. So
great idea.
You can get some sleep. There's no bright light in your eye. It's just subtly lit. Mood lighting is also quite important, I think, in the night. But I know there are plenty of people who disagree with that, so it's each their own.
Well, tell those people to just get a blindfold on or something. Just let them
yeah, fair enough. I mean, I don't want to just go on and basically say ICE3 Neo for ages, but restaurants too. There should be a restaurant or, board bistro, they call it, I believe, on the ICE3 Neo. Even if you're not having a restaurant, there has to be a buffet on an intercity train. Like, no trolley, we've got to do a buffet.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree as well with buffets, because, I think catering is very important. I remember the, and I remember when I rode on the VTEC 91, well, not VTEC, sorry, it's a while ago, LNER 91 from London to Peterborough, you got, in first class, you got food straight to you, which is kind of nice. But you also didn't have to pay for it as well, which was even better.
Yes. Interestingly, in Germany, on the ICEs, you do have to pay for food in first class. I don't know how to feel about paying for catering in first. I'm kind of on the fence. I haven't made up my mind yet. But whatever it is, on high-speed long-distance services, you should be able to have meals in standard and first class. In standard in a restaurant, I don't think there's anything wrong with having meals delivered to your seat in first. Actually, I think it's probably quite a good perk. But there should be some way to have a meal. I did say before that there shouldn't be any trolleys. I kind of take that back. LNER have a buffet and a trolley. Works pretty well. So if you can justify trolley and buffet, sure, But if you've got to get rid of one of them, get rid of the trolley.
Interesting. I didn't know. Well, I barely ride on. I haven't rode on LNER for a while because I try to avoid the IET, which that's because the kind of person I am. But I didn't know they had both the shop and trolley. That seems a bit excessive.
Yeah, I mean, it might be, but if they can make money out of it, then why not?
Well, I guess they would have to do that on the 10 car sets because I don't. Yeah. Good point. Fair enough then.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, even on the Class 91s, I mean, it might have changed post-pandemic, but I remember before the pandemic, they definitely had both trolleys and buffets.
I'll take your word
class.
for it, but I haven't noted. Okay, it was in first class, then I'll have to take your word for it because I don't remember seeing that myself.
Oh no, sorry, this wasn't in first class.
Oh, it wasn't in standard. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it. It was in standard. Okay, yeah, I'll have to take your
Yeah.
word for it because I don't remember that myself. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I specifically want? Because from a intercity train, like or high speed
yeah.
intercity. What else is there?
Well,
'Cause-
there's plenty of things. I think there should be different, not necessarily coaches, but areas for different needs. Like again, the OC3 Neo does this quite well. There's a family section.
oh yeah, still lots of
yeah.
German and Austrian trains do that as well.
Yeah, and Swiss ones as well. And there should, well, quiet coaches too.
Yep.
There should be different coaches for different sorts of journey that you want to have. And because on a long distance intercity train, it really ruins a journey if you're stuck with like a really loud family or whatever, or someone.
Don't even get me started. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So you should be able to choose what you want, what you don't want, and travel with like-minded people in a way. Compartments, another thing. Long-distance intercity trains. Again, the ICE3 Neo does this well.
Are you just a Siemens spokesperson today?
Well, you know, I won't disclose my funding, but but yeah, no, I think we should have compartments. Maybe only in first class. That could be a good first class perk. But
I want
I don't know.
compartments back in the UK, man. I miss compartments.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
Especially like, you know,
What-
you could have you could actually have 3+3 seating, and people will not know. Well, three alongside.
3+3,
No.
yeah.
Oh, good. No. That's horrible. Three opposites seating.
Yeah,
and
3 abreast.
Three
yeah.
abreast seating, and actually fit people in because you won't have to worry about 2 seats on the other side. I
Yes.
like that, but the problem is that there's an obvious risk of safety with compartments, which is why they've gotten rid of them. I mean, no. It was a rather serious story in the I think it was in the 80s. Yeah, someone was murdered in a compartment, and they never found the killer. And
Yeah,
it was
well-
serious, so they just got rid of them as soon as.
Well, exactly, and this is sort of what I was talking about with commuter trains. I mean, we should not be having compartments on commuter trains, obviously.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that happens on suburban railways more often than elsewhere.
Exactly.
And really, we should be designing trains around that. But on intercity services, they're usually very busy. There's usually loads of staff about. That's much less of a risk, if you see what I mean. And also now with CCTV, we can do all sorts of things to improve that. So I don't think
certainly, yeah.
safety should really be that much of a barrier on intercity trains. And of course, there should be non-compartment options. So if people don't really feel comfortable going in, that's fine. Go somewhere else. I think the TGV Atlantique, their original interiors, did it pretty well.
Oh, I
They
never
had-
knew that.
No, it's really cool. They had kind of almost compartments. They just had like partitions between the bays of 4 and kind of half walls on the aisle side. So it's not an actual compartment, but you do get that bit of privacy.
Oh, that
you
looks
would get with a
awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
I need to convince my friend to go to Paris to ride on one of those. But he hates.
I don't know if they're still in service.
What, the Atlantique?
No, I know the Atlantiques are, but I mean, I don't know if they've refurbished them.
Well, what? That's a good one. That's a good question.
I know those interiors were still in service in 2016. I travelled in one of those little mini compartments in 2016 between Morlaix and Brest, but I don't know if they're still in use. I really hope they are.
Well, is that in first class, I should ask? Is that...
Yeah, that's first class. That's not standard.
I was going to say, okay. Well, minor disappointment of our side. I am seeing a sort of seat map from seat 61, and it does look like that layout still seems the same on the TGV Atlantique. It says,
okay.
It says, I think that's Renovate La Croix. the Croix or whatever. I'm not French.
I don't know. I don't speak French. No.
Yeah, but that looks awesome. Oh my goodness, those seats look cool. Look how thick
They're
they
amazing.
are. Wow.
Yeah, they're so thick. The recline is quite amazing because the whole seat sort of rolls forward. They're so nice.
Delicious.
Some of the most comfortable seats in the world, really, I would say.
Oh, I really want to ride on that train, but I have to go to Paris and I think the Atlantic ones go to Normandy, don't they?
I think they might. They also go to Brittany. They're the ones that go to the north coast, west of Paris.
Yeah,
not
that
up
area.
to Lille or Calais. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my French geography is pretty crap, so I'm not the best on that. All I just know is that they go somewhere. That's all I know. They don't go south. They go somewhere in the north. That isn't Calais. That's good enough. I'll have to keep that in mind. I never knew about that interior. It looks fantastic. But look at what's but since we're gushing so much about that interior, that clearly shows what we would expect. Like that looks fantastic.
Yeah, and I think a lot more people would pay for first class if it was like that.
I agree.
So, and obviously that's extra revenue for the railway. We should be trying to encourage people to travel in first class. Give the trains more money. And then you fund that, obviously, to create more improvements, and you benefit passengers in the standard class through frequency increases or length in trains or whatever that you can now pay for because more people are spending more money on first class tickets. So we should be trying to encourage more first class travel. Also, Deutsche Bahn, with their Ideenszug, I mentioned this in the past, the little solo pods. That's an interesting innovation. I don't know 100% if that would work, but I think it's something to look into. It is quite cool.
That is cool. I don't know why, but I mean, if you're like an introvert, that is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. There shouldn't be many of them, but I think you could maybe charge a premium for them if you're working or something. If you hate people, that would be a lovely place to travel. I mean, imagine that with the window, a reclined seat, almost lie flat. That would be a really enjoyable journey, I should think.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a very interesting. Is that just like a concept, or have they put that on the train?
Yeah, they put it on an actual train. The Ideenszug. I don't exactly know how it's pronounced. My German is absolutely rubbish.
So
but they converted. They converted a Doppelstock Wagen.
Is it the IC that's just like interesting. All right then, it's like a Bombardier one. I got it.
Yeah, it's just one of the normal Doppelstock, and they sort of put in different sort of concepts, and they've trialled them out. It runs in regular passenger service, just sort of randomly whacked on to the end of a rake of coaches.
That's an interesting.
So you never really know if you're going to get it, but if you do, it's pretty nice.
It's an interesting way of trialing, I would say. I do like how the coach looks though, just in general.
Yeah, no, the livery does work pretty well. They also had this kind of weird airline style sort of 2+1 first class seating, which I think looks pretty cool.
That looks odd. It sort of looks like an Emirates seat at home. Almost.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think with that, there's not really much point. You might as well just fit standard first class seats.
I agree.
I can't imagine that they would be any less comfortable than those.
1+1 seating would be kind of funny to see on certain intercity routes.
Yeah, well, they did it on Heathrow Express.
Yeah, they did it on the Heathrow Express. Well, not even for a while before they did it until they were scrapped. I remember.
Really?
Seeing, yeah, well, hand on heart, I took a photo of one in 2019.
Oh wow. Well, fair enough.
Yeah. Heathrow Express was special. Remember, 32 quid to get from London to Heathrow. Cha-ching.
Yeah, the 332s. They kind of made it. Well, they didn't make it acceptable, but they softened the blow because you had an amazing train to travel on.
And I'm still upset that they were just chucked in the bin.
Oh, so soon, and with 387s too replacing them. Oh,
disgusting.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to say about train interiors? Because I think we've gotten like a really good way of. We've gotten pretty much everything we wanted to say about them, unless I've forgotten everything. of what we
Yeah,
were
I mean,
expecting.
we touched kind of briefly on this a lot of times around colors matter a lot. Sort of the textures you use and the general materials make quite a big difference. Carpets are really useful if you want to try and dampen noise.
Yeah.
Maquette is also pretty good for that, and also it's just more comfortable than leather.
Mm-hmm.
Wood effect is pretty good, but again, it has to be pretty high quality. And we should be trying to go for, I would say, in all cases, really, quite sober colors, sort of subdued. They
Yeah,
look
I don't.
stylish.
We don't need like super high saturation on.
No, we don't need like Paris RER
Oh no,
interiors.
that's just like a visual assault on the eyes on some aspects.
Yeah, no, like I personally don't like my trains to look like a nursery, but Paris can do what they want, I suppose.
No, what they will. They. Oh my goodness, it's worse than I thought. Oh
Yeah,
goodness me, I forgot about that.
and then there's one of them that they covered the roof with the sort of fresco paintings
Oh.
in the Palace of Versailles.
Well, okay, I can at least understand the Versailles though, because that train, if it's the one I'm thinking of, goes directly to Versailles.
Yeah, and I suppose that's just kind of like a fun little tourism
Yeah, I'll
reference.
accept that. That's like a laugh. Come on, I'm not gonna. There's no reason to get angry about that. The other one is still dumb.
No, no. Yeah.
If actually, you know what? That interior actually reminds me of James May's modified Alfa Romeo, the one where he put the Sistine Chapel on the roof of the thing. That reminds me of that, just not as jank. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm
yeah,
trying. I'm trying. Come on.
Yeah.
Well,
But I think that's a cool little feature, but yeah, not in every train.
definitely not. Now we don't need it on the Hounslow loop.
No.
So, but I think that pretty much covers it. I think, covers pretty much everything we wanted to mention about regarding train interiors. I think this was a very interesting chat because, well, train interiors are really dumb at the moment. Some good ones here and there, but I really just wish trains were much more fun to ride on in the UK, because if they were, we wouldn't be making this video.
Yeah, no, that's true. We've probably gone on for longer than we should have done, but I'm just seeing how long is the recording.
1 hour.
1 hour and 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relax. It's well, I don't mind. Besides, I think this will be just very easy to just edit and stuff, so don't worry about that. I think
Yeah.
we shouldn't be too upset that this is a long chat, because people like hearing
There's some
what we have to
interesting
say.
stuff in here.
Definitely.
I think there are a few things I could have worded better, but you learn every time.
Exactly. Besides, I'm at least happy we got. I even learned a few new things, and you learned a few new things as well. Plus, we've got everything we wanted to say about. So, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and thank you once again, GWVillager, for joining me in our various discussions. And I hope to use this image more in the future.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and we'll speak to you guys next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.